you get submitted to the page I showed you earlier. Okay. Now all queries regarding Scopus are now channeled through one source. Last time is that if you know Andy, you may go to Andy, or you know Inday, you go to Inday, or you know me, come to me and say, I don't have my titles in Scopus, or it was in Scopus 2 years ago, but it's no longer in Scopus now. How? Where? Who do I look for? This is the most important address that you need to take note of. contentqueries@elsevier.com. You might want to take down this address, because any issue with Scopus, any problems, technical or otherwise, go to this site, contentqueries@elsevier.com. Type in your question, whatever problems that you may have or you're encountering, they will come back to you. Sometimes it can come back to you very fast, but sometimes these excuse them, they may take a while because they receive hundreds of queries on this. So what happens? Next steps. Once it's in, you submit, what happens? You submit, you say thank you for submitting your journal. The next step, the publishers are contacted by the source acquisition team only after a title is accepted for inclusion in Scopus. Now, the source acquisition team will look for you and ask you for more items if it's not submitted already. Okay. The team has contact with the publishers only to source the material. Sometimes the journal editors will start asking them questions. Hey, do you know about this? Do you know how far am I in the queue? Who's ahead of me? Who else is inside the thing? Are my peers inside? They do not know the answers to this question. Their job is solely to ask you for the material. There are times people say, look, I'm from old school, so I like to submit hard copies. The answer is that we prefer, okay, it's faster, it's more convenient. Electronic feed is the preferred choice. It's also the faster and cheaper option for you. Okay, sometimes they say, look, I prefer to send you the hard copy, and you ship it. It may take like 2 weeks to 3 weeks to arrive, and it's a one-tick document. Isn't it faster if you just go electronic? Everything is by email, so fast, instantaneous, free. Now, print copies have to be sent by mail and scanned, which take longer. So please try to avoid it if you can. The other common question we get is, what happens to my copies? Is it going to be placed prominently on the wall somewhere? No. After we've done with it, after we scan, we throw. Okay, so it's going to be lost forever. So if that's your only copy, try to make a copy of it for yourself. Yeah? Now the second part of it, I'm going to share with you. Don't bother trying to look at and analyze or understand these things. I'm just going to share with you how we do it. Now, when you submit your journals to Scopus, okay, and then the source acquisition team contacts you and say, can you send me more information, send me this copy, send me that copy. What goes behind the scenes? Now, we actually work with the Scopus title, the Scopus Content Selection and Advisory Board, the CSAB. And what we have as a criteria for selection is the STEP score sheet. This is a STEP score sheet of how it looks like. Every year we try to improve. It's a dynamic board, such that every time we look and review the selection criteria, and then we change and improve on it as we go along. Okay? Now, what happens is that traditionally we used to have a column here under the criteria per category, and then we have a scoring basis. We have a weightage system. Okay, so whatever you submit, we go through this whole process. Okay, it's all automated, and what you see is a figure up here. So there's a range here. If yours falls within 0 to 5, it's rejected outright. Okay, if yours falls within 6 to 7, it's a case of doubt. If yours is above that, means we accept your journal. So depends on the score that you see over here overall. So the board members and the reviewers will key in all their votes over here, and it's tabulated. Now, to show you a cleaner version of that, okay, please bear in mind that this is just as a point of reference. Do not take it as the Bible truth that this is a fixed weightage system. It is not. It's as a guide. Like I say, every year it changes as we review. But what we need to take note of is this very important stuff. What do the board members look at? First and foremost, we look at the journal policy. Okay, under the category journal policy, we have several criteria. For example, I'm just going to read out two examples because Professor Evan will actually be illustrating more in detail later on. Okay, so we're going to have, say, English language abstracts available. That's the first basic one. If your submission does not even have English abstract, what's going to happen? Out you go. Okay, out, completely gone. Right? So this is the most important. Are all cited references of the articles in Roman alphabet. So these are some basic stuff that they actually ask for. Okay, and then they'll key in their votes accordingly. So you know that under this criteria, the weightages is quite high. If you look at out of 100%, it comprises roughly about 35%, plus minus. Okay. Next, we look at the presentation of content. How do you do it? Academic contribution to field. Is there clarity in terms of your abstracts? Very important point. 20%. Citedness of journal articles, citedness of editors in Scopus. Okay. Regularity. We touched about regularity earlier on. You know, the speakers before me said once a year, twice a year, 1 to 10 years. You know. So is there a delay in publication? You know, between the first and the second one. How long is it? How long is the gap? Accessibility. Is it available online? Now the most important thing is, do you have a quality homepage? Some of them say, yes, I have a homepage. But when you go to the homepage, it looks really, pardon the expression, crappy. You know, it's not professional. It looks terrible. So all this plays a part. So when you add up all these things, your eventual score determines whether or not you get into Scopus. Okay, I've touched on that. And then now, what is the role of the board members in all these things? I'm going to show you how hardworking they are. They were busy working at their dinner actually. This was taken in Turkey last year. Every year we try to go to a different place to refresh everybody's mind. And to see, these are actually the real board members in Turkey. So the recent one was held in Turkey. And it was a very interesting board meeting because we actually spent like 3 days, intensive days in a room, all crammed up, and then having breakout rooms, having a nice workshop sessions to revitalize everybody, to force people to think, force the board members to think as to how best we can improve on this. That's why I say use that criteria as a guide, because the percentage is not fixed, it's not final. Because every year we review it and we review it. So the role of the CSAB itself, what does it stand for? Content selection. Content selection and advisory board. Okay? So content selection, that's what we go through. All your various journals, looking at content. How can we improve? It's plus minus. Right now we have got about 35 people. The board traditionally comprises about 30 people. So we try to keep that number between 25 to 35. So there's no absolute number that we're looking at. But more importantly, the people on the board must reflect the currentness of society. Okay, what is the trend? Okay. And they work with the Scopus team to understand how the product is used. How is Scopus used? Just now Andy illustrated how it can be used for you to collaborate with other researchers in another institution, in another country. Their recommendations directly influence the overall direction of Scopus. Okay. We've got a subject chair, a board member over here, Professor Evan, and he will touch upon in detail later on. Now the group is also important when we talk about content growth strategy. How can we grow our content? Not only do we want to grow our content, but we want to grow in terms of the quality of the content. It's no point to have your quantity, but we need quality as well. So the board representation as a whole, I've got a question earlier on, they're asking where are they from? You need to cover across the board. I've got 35 board members, but these 35 board members come from 20 different countries, so they're well represented. A broad range of scientific disciplines, various types of institutions,